Hi, welcome to Rules Challenge. My name is Carter Maxwell. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at the game Hansa Teutonica. Now, if you're new to the show, this basically functions like a video FAQ in the form of a test. I'll run through a series of real game situations, and after each one, I'll just stop and ask legal or illegal. And then I'll come back on and answer the question with some explanation. Before I get started on the Rules Challenge itself, a few things I should discuss. One is I'd intended to make this a big box video that would cover the base game and the two expansions, but it turned out to be too much material to cover in just one video. So this will just be on the base game, and then I'll do a second video on the East expansion and the Britannia expansion and link to them in this video when that one's ready. Also, the big box release has a new version of the rule book that I've been working from. It does change some of the terminology, and actually I would recommend working from that. I haven't really looked at it too closely to see if there's any nuances in how it was worded that were a problem, but the way it's organized is definitely a lot better, and I think if you're learning the game, the new rule book would be easier to work from. Also, I'm implementing a change that was made in the Britannia expansion, and now they've made official for the base game as well. And that's the bonus marker. That's to move 3 of your opponent's pieces. You used to be able to remove the pieces from the board. Now you're just able to move them around the board so they don't actually get returned to the player's personal supplies, which tones down the power of the bonus marker a bit, but I think it's a good change, and I'm using that in my demonstrations here. Also, a couple tips I would offer if you're a new player or going to be teaching this to new players. I would keep the personal supply and general stock totally separate. You'll see me using here a separate tray to keep pieces for the general stock, because even veteran players sometimes make the mistake of when they're going to place a piece on the board, they reach from the general stock when they mean to reach the personal supply, and that's a game breaker. And I think it's a good idea to keep them totally separate, even on separate locations on the table, so no one makes that mistake inadvertently. Blue currently has 3 actions, so for her first action she's going to do a move, and per her book of knowledge she can move 2 pieces with the move action. So she'll move one from this route and from this route down to the Hildesheim-Goslar route. Then she'll do a place action, putting a cube on the same route. For her third action, Blue will create a trade route from Hildesheim to Goslar. First, she'll look at the adjacent cities, and she controls either side, so that'll get her 2 points. Then, since there's a bonus marker on that route, she'll go ahead and take that. She doesn't have enough privilege to be able to establish a trading post in either city. There's no ability to develop along with that route, so she'll just go ahead and clear those pieces and move them to the general stock. And then to wrap up her turn, since she claimed a bonus marker, she'll draw a replacement and decide to put that on a new route, and she'll just go ahead and plunk it down where the old one was. She doesn't have to put it on the same route, of course, but this is a good setup for her, so she might as well keep working it. That move was legal. A couple things worth noting here. People sometimes wonder if, when you're doing a move action, if the pieces either have to start from the same route or end up on the same route. No, it's totally fine, like in this case where 2 different pieces came from routes far apart and were moved to the same part of the board. They didn't have to end up on the same route, they just happened to in this case. Another thing Blue did here that people sometimes question is creating a trade route on a route where she isn't able to establish a trading post or develop an ability. That's fine though. If you want to just create the route for the sake of scoring points or claiming a bonus marker or both, that's perfectly legal move. Now it's Red's turn, and before even taking her first action, she's going to use this move 3 bonus marker. So she'll flip that over. So Red gets to move 3 pieces now. So for the first 2, she's going to switch the yellow cube here on the Emden-Stade route with the red cube down here near Göttingen, and switch those around. And then for the third move, she'll take this yellow disc over near Emden and move it over next to Hamburg. I think it's worth stopping here to see if you think that move was okay. That move was illegal. One thing I'll point out first, though, is something that people often think is illegal but is actually okay. Let's say, for example, that red wanted to switch this green cube and this blue cube. People often look at that and say, well, no, that's not possible because neither space is actually open when you start the move. But actually, it works more like you're gathering up the pieces and then distributing them where you want them to be. The problem with what red did was that she moved one of her own pieces. That bonus marker only allows you to move your opponent's pieces, not your own. The rest of red's turn was pretty standard fare, so I'm going to skip ahead to green's turn. He's totally out of pieces in his personal supply, so he wants to take an income action. His bank ability has not been developed at all yet, so he can just take 3 pieces from the general stock. So he'll grab 3 cubes from there. For his second action, green wants to move that yellow piece out of the Göttingen-Quedlinburg route, so he'll do a displace. He'll bump that yellow piece out of there with one of his cubes, and he'll pay a second cube from his personal supply to the general stock. Yellow has to immediately deal with that displacement. He's just going to go ahead and take the Quedlinburg hollow route. Then he gets 1 free placement from his general stock, so he'll take that disc that's in his general stock and place that on the same route. For green's third action, he'd like to create a trade route from Göttingen to Quedlinburg, and rather than develop an ability, he wants to establish a trading post. So he'll clear these 2 cubes out, move them to general stock, and move the disc into Göttingen. Then for scoring, there's no trading posts in Quedlinburg, so no points are awarded there. Green controls Göttingen, so 1 point for green. That move was illegal. Something I want to first point out, though, that might have looked illegal but was okay. When yellow was displaced and moved this cube over here, he then brought in a yellow disc as the bonus piece, or the bonus placement. And bringing in a disc is fine. You don't have to bring in just a cube because a cube was displaced. The illegal part was how green had handled the scoring when creating that trade route. When you create a trade route, you always have to resolve it in the exact same sequence. So first, you score the adjacent cities. So before that green disc had even moved into Göttingen, these adjacent cities would have been scored. Yellow would have gotten 1 point. Then, if there's a bonus marker on the route, you would take it. Then third, you would either remove all of the pieces from the route and develop an ability, or remove all but 1 piece from the route and establish a trading post. Now it's yellow's turn, and before taking his first action, he'd like to use a bonus marker. So he's going to use this additional trading post marker. He'll take a cube from his personal supply, and he'll place it next to the city of Quedlinburg. For yellow's first regular action, he'd like to create a trade route on the Quedlinburg hollow route. So first he'll look at the adjacent cities, sees that he controls one side, blue controls the other, so it'll be 1 point for each. Then he wants to develop his city keys ability, so he'll clear all the pieces from the route, moving them to general stock, and he'll mark that advance on his city keys. Yellow wants to get that disc back into his personal supply, so he's going to take an income action. He gets to take 3 pieces from the general stock. So he'll take the disc and 2 cubes. And then for yellow's third and final action, he'll take that disc from his personal supply and place it on the Göttingen-Quedlinburg route. There were actually 2 things wrong with this turn. The first thing that was wrong is that additional trading post bonus marker is not its own independent action. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to use this now, flip it over, and put a cube next to a city. It's only used while you're taking the create a trade route action. And that would allow you to, when you're creating the route and about to place a trading post, it just gives you an extra option for how you place that trading post. The other thing yellow did wrong was that additional trading post marker only allows you to place an additional trading post if there's a trading post already in the city. Quedlinburg, though, was empty, so this wasn't even an option to use if you were creating a trade route here. Now, if, say, there'd been somebody's disk there, yes, then you can use this bonus marker if you're creating a trade route and put a piece next to the city. Now it's Blue's turn again, and she wants to keep working that Hildesheim-Goslar road. So her turn will look similar to her last turn. She'll start by taking a move action. She's still at just the first level of the Book of Knowledge, so she can move 2 pieces. So she'll move a cube from Warburg-Gutenen to Hildesheim-Goslar, and she'll move a piece from Hamburg-Lübeck down to the same route. And just like last time, she'll place 1 piece for her second action on that same route. Then she'll create a trade route. First, she'll look at the adjacent cities and see who controls them. She's got both of them, so that'll score 2 points. Just like last time, establishing a trading post or developing an ability isn't an option. So she'll go ahead and claim that bonus marker, which is develop 1 ability. She'll draw a replacement bonus marker, put that face down on her silver plate, and she'll clear that route of the pieces. Now, even though she's used up her 3 actions, she does want to use this bonus marker, so she'll go ahead and flip that. That will allow her to develop 1 ability. So she'll take a cube off her actions area. That unlocks a 4th action, so she wants to go ahead and use that now. So she'll do a placement. She'll take this cube, and she'll put that cube on the Gutenen-Quedlinburg route. And finally, to wrap up her turn, she'll put that replacement bonus marker out on the board. And she's just going to keep trying to milk that same cow, so she'll put that bonus marker out on the Hildesheim-Goslar route again. The thing I wanted to show here was the use of that bonus marker. This causes a ton of confusion in the game. People have a lot of different ideas about how these should work. One thing that people often think is that after you acquire a new bonus marker, you can't use that marker until your next turn. That's not correct. Probably a more common misconception is that you can use it on your turn, but not if you're out of actions. That's incorrect also. As long as it hasn't actually moved on to the next person's turn, you can activate a bonus marker. Now we're back to Red's turn. Red, for her first action, is going to take a cube from her personal supply and put it on the Lüneburg-Perleberg route. For her second action, she wants to create this trade route, and we look at the adjacent cities, and there's no trading post, so nobody scores any points for that. Then, since there's a bonus marker on the route, she'll go ahead and take that. She'll take a replacement marker right away, and she'll put that on her dinner plate. Then she wants to establish a trading post. She's got the pink level of privilege, so she'll remove these excess pieces and move a cube into the pink space of Perleberg. Then for her third and final action, she wants to do a place action, so she'll take a cube from her personal supply, and she'll place that on the Hildesheim-Goslar route. She's out of actions, so to wrap up her turn, she'll take that replacement marker off her dinner plate, see what it is, place the bonus marker on the Emden-Stade route. That move was illegal for a couple different reasons, so hopefully you got this one right. The first was where Red put that trading post. Even though she had privilege all the way up to pink, you still have to fill in the cities from left to right. So she had to claim this leftmost space even though she had a higher privilege level than that. If that space had been filled, then sure, she could have taken the pink space in Perleberg. The other thing Red did wrong was placing a bonus marker on a route where there were no open trading post spaces on either adjacent city. All right, we're back to Green's turn, and again, Green finds himself low on pieces in his personal supply, so he's going to take a income action and take 3 pieces from his general stock. For a second action, Green is going to displace that yellow disc on the Stade-Hamburg route and then pay 2 more pieces to his general stock. Yellow will take that displaced disc and move it to the Emden-Stade route. She's also allowed to bring in 2 new pieces from her general stock. She actually only has 1 left in there, so she'll take the 1 and she'll take another one from her personal supply. And she'll place both of those on the Emden-Stade route as well. For Green's third action, he wants to create a trade route from Stade to Hamburg. First, he'll look at the adjacent cities. Red controls one side, Green controls the other, so 1 point for each. He wants to develop the privilege ability, so he'll go ahead and clear the pieces from the route and advance 1 on privilege. Everything Green did was fine. The reason I've shown this example is because of the way Yellow handled the displacement that sometimes raises questions for people. If you recall, Yellow had been displaced from this route, then took a bonus yellow cube from general stock, was then out of pieces in the general stock though, so grabbed a cube from the personal supply and moved that in here. That's perfectly legal though. And in fact, if you run out of general stock and personal supply, you could even take a piece that you already have out on the board. One other thing I might as well mention, because I don't cover it in other examples, when you have a piece displaced and you're bringing in your bonus pieces, they don't all have to end up on the same route. So say when Yellow was displaced from the Stade-Hamburg route, place that disc here, those 2 cubes that came in didn't have to go on that same route with the disc. As long as they follow the displacement adjacency rules, they can end up on different routes. So, for example, the cube could have gone on the Bremen-Hamburg route and the Hamburg-Lüneburg route or whatever. Now we're up to Yellow's turn, and before he takes any actions, he's going to use this bonus marker to exchange trading posts. Flip that over. He'll go down to Göttingen and switch that yellow cube with the green disc. For Yellow's first regular action, he wants to create a trade route from Emden to Stade. So first he'll check for control of the cities. Red's got either side, so that's 2 points for Red. There's a bonus marker on the route, so he'll take that. And he'll immediately draw a replacement marker and put that on his silver plate. He wants to develop the privilege ability, so he'll go ahead and clear the pieces from the route and advance on his privilege track. Now for Yellow's second action, he wants to do a move, and he's developed his book of knowledge all the way up so that he can now move 4 pieces in a single move. So he's going to reach out and gather pieces from all over the board. He's got a piece up here near Emden, a disc near Hamburg, a couple pieces down near Göttingen, and he'll put those pieces on the route from Köln to Warburg, or at least I think that's Köln, maybe just with an archaic spelling. I've never seen a spelling like that on the map. For Yellow's third action, he's going to create a trade route. He's going to move a marker into the special scoring area. So he'll move this disc into the pink because he's developed his privilege up to the pink level. And then since he's out of actions, to wrap up his turn, he'll take that replacement bonus marker and he'll put it on the Bremen-Hamburg route where there are definitely open trading post spaces. That move was legal, but there are a couple things we should talk about here. First was the use of that bonus marker to switch trading posts. Now some people wonder, just to refresh your memory, there was a yellow cube on the left and a green disc on the right, and some people question whether you can move a square piece into a round space or a disc into a square space That's normally not legal if you're establishing a trading post, but when you're using the exchange trading post bonus marker, it is legal. You can disregard the shapes. Also, with this bonus marker, color is irrelevant. So let's say the situation had been like this, with a yellow cube in the pink space, and green had used this bonus marker and didn't have the pink privilege. That wouldn't matter. He could go ahead and switch these two even if he didn't have that privilege level. And the last thing is, when yellow placed this marker out here in the special scoring area, it was fine that it did not fill in the leftmost space. You know, people get used to thinking about the trading posts where when you put them in a city, they always have to be in the leftmost open space. That's not true in this special scoring area. You can place it as far up as you've got a privilege allowing you. So if you have the black privilege, and there's nothing else in here, you can skip all the way up even to that level. We're going to skip ahead all the way to late in the game where it's Red's turn, and she's at 19 points, just one away from the end game condition of 20, and she expects to be scoring that final point this turn. For her first action, she wants to make a move. She's at level 4 of the Book of Knowledge, but it doesn't really matter because she only wants to move 2 pieces anyway. First, she'll move this disc over to the Goslar Magdeburg route, and then she'll move this cube up to the Emden Stade route. For her second action, Red will create a trade route from Goslar to Magdeburg. There's nobody in Magdeburg, but she's got control of Goslar, so she'll score 1 point for that, getting her to 20 and triggering the end of the game. Then she'll move her disc into Magdeburg and clear the cube. For Red's third action, she'll create a trade route from Emden to Stade. She'll check for scoring. She still controls both cities, so that's 2 points for Red. She wants to develop an ability, so she'll clear this route of pieces, move them to general stock, and develop her privilege. When you trigger the game end, you finish resolving the action that triggered the end of the game, but if you've got other actions left on your turn, you don't get to use those. Either way Red approached this, she was not going to be able to create both those trade routes. The Goslar Magdeburg one gave her a point, which was going to end the game. The Emden to Stade route was a 2-pointer. So no matter how she chose to arrange this, whichever one she tried to do first, it was going to cause the end of the game, and she wouldn't have been able to do the second create a route action. Now we're going to take a look at final scoring, where yellow is calculating his network score. He counts it as 1, Groningen, 2, Emden, 3, 4, Osnabrück, 5, Kampen, and 6, Bremen. He'll take that 6 times his city keys multiplier of 2 for a total of 12. He's at 13, so that'll get him up to 25. That network score was legal. There are 2 mistakes people tend to make when doing network scoring. One is they want to only count controlled cities. So they would look at yellow's network here and think, well, that one would count, but Emden isn't controlled by yellow, so that would break the network. So then they would just look at Kampen, Osnabrück, and Bremen as 3 controlled cities, count that as 3 points, times the city keys multiplier for a total of 6. The other mistake people tend to make is to ignore control, but still just count the number of cities. So they would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, multiplied by 2 for a total of 10. The correct way, though, is to count the number of trading posts within your network. So in Osnabrück, you do count both those yellow cubes, not just 1 point for control of the city or having presence in the city. So one thing that's important to remember is that you can actually extend your network quite a bit even without necessarily extending geographically. Like yellow could conceivably end up with another cube in Kampen, another cube in Bremen. Those would each be adding to her network score. Another thing I should point out about network scoring is you can count all these side branches. It's not a ticket to ride type situation where you can only count things in a single line. Here you can go from Groningen to Emden down to Osnabrück, and then one branch goes out to Kampen, one branch goes up to Bremen. That's fine. You can count each of those separate branches. Well, that wraps up the rules challenge for Hansa Teutonica. I hope you got something out of it. I'll link to the other video that I'm doing on the expansions. And just so you know what's coming up, I'm going to be doing Grand Austria Hotel next, and probably Beyond the Sun after that. So if you're interested in those, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.